Hey everyone, this is Alex from Influenced LA, and we are here with our official AEW All-In review. That is right, the All-In show took place this past Sunday, and it was one of the most successful events, if not the most successful event, in the entire 4-year history of AEW. 81,073 people was the official recorded paid attendance, which is an all-time record for a pro wrestling event. So kudos to Tony Khan, AEW, everyone involved. So without getting too much more into the, like the numbers and all that stuff, we're gonna get right into the event, the coverage, do a full breakdown of each match that took place on the card, including the pre-show. And we're gonna start with what kicked off the pre-show, which was Adam Cole and MJF, Better Than You Baby, challenging for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships against Aussie Open. I got a couple I basically took notes of all the matches, so I'll go through a couple of the highlights for you guys. Adam Cole and MJF, they got jumped right before Adam Cole hit his Adam Cole Bebe spot with MJF. So obviously that got the crowd really hot and really against Aussie Open right out of the jump. It was really cool to kind of see like MJF and Adam Cole kind of at a disadvantage at first. It definitely made it a little bit more intriguing to watch the match. You knew they weren't going to do too many crazy spots because they were preserving that main event. However, they did do a storyline with MJF's back being targeted, which they played a little bit more on in the main event. So that was good to see. Adam Cole got the hot tag, and off a missed Panama Sunrise. Sorry guys. Adam Cole got the hot tag, and off a missed Panama Sunrise hit Alex Fletcher with an absolute missile kick, or an absolute missile of a super kick. Yeah. So if you guys get a chance to check out that pre-show at any point, it's on YouTube as well, so that's free to watch. Adam Cole hits one of the most absolute most beautiful super kicks you'll ever see. And then they go for the double clothesline, but Fletcher gets pulled out of the ring. MJF teases diving, but it takes a little too long, so then they get the advantage. MJF ends up kicking out of Aussie Open's finisher, and then they get the best of them because there's a miscommunication between Aussie Open, which sets up MJF to hit the kangaroo kick, which has been highly anticipated, and the crowd came unglued for it. MJF hit the ropes like he's the Ultimate Warrior. They end up hitting the double clothesline off of that on Alex Fletcher for the 1, 2, 3, and Adam Cole and MJF, just as we predicted, walk out of the pre-show as Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships, or Ring of Honor Tag Team Champs. And so that's a great storyline going into the main event. Now you have not only best friends, but co-Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. So that playing into the factor would have been really cool to see. They show Mercedes Moné in the crowd at Wembley. Obviously this is a big deal. She is injured right now, but chances are she's probably coming into AEW. And then, yeah, the only other match we had on the pre-show was actually the FTW Championship. It was Hook versus Jack Perry. So it started out with Hook making his entrance. Jack Perry rode in on a limo looking all snazzy. Hook ended up confronting Jack Perry in the entranceway. They ended up battling it out for a bit. Jack Perry ends up hitting a Rolling Thunder on the limo, which was a good spot while Hook was positioned on the hood of the car. And then Jack Perry did a moment where he looked at the camera and said, "That's real glass, go cry me a river." That was obviously in reference to a story a couple weeks ago with him and CM Punk. That it's not going to mean anything to a lot of the main, like just the regular audience that's tuning in for a show. People that are like on the internet and stuff would like know that. It ended up leading, I guess, to a confrontation backstage, which we'll touch on a little bit more when we go over AEW Dynamite tomorrow. We're still waiting to see what the exact ramifications are of everything. There's conflicting reports of if CM Punk's been suspended, if Jack Perry's been suspended. So we're going to end up waiting to see how that all ends up playing out. Hopefully it's not too serious, but getting back to the match, Hook ends up suplexing Jack Perry onto the windshield of the car, which was the real glass. Jack Perry then ends up having a lacerated arm for the rest of the match. They're making their way to the ring, and then Perry teases a coast to coast, but hops off and flips the crowd off. Basically just the ultimate heel move. You know, he's not doing any fan favorite moves anymore. Perry goes for a backflip onto a trash can, but then Hook moves it out of the way, and then he locks in Red Rum for the submission victory, and then Hook is now your FTW champion once again. So he's coming back to the States with his dad's title. And then, yeah, guys, with that, we're going to be moving into the main show. This was the main card that kicked off at 10 a.m. And kicking off the show, we had the AEW Real World Championship on the line as CM Punk defended it against Samoa Joe. So Samoa Joe came out to a thunderous reaction. Tons of Joe chants throughout the arena. CM Punk came out to a normal divisive reaction. But nonetheless, it's great to see two staples in professional wrestling over the past 20 years getting their spotlight in a big showcase in front of 81,000 people. They opened up the show. Terrific opening match. We got some notes to go over in it as well. So it did start out a little slow. It ended up getting taken out to the outside after Joe sidestepped CM Punk on a crossbody attack. He did his little walkaway moment. They battled a little bit more. Punk went for a dive off the apron. Joe ended up catching him and then throwing him into the structure underneath the announce table. I don't know if you guys are too familiar with like how that works, but it looked like it was just plain wood, and it ended up getting destroyed underneath. Punk was very, very bloodied from this point on throughout the rest of the match. They go back into the ring, and then after a little bit more of a beatdown, Joe went for the muscle buster, but then Punk escaped, hit a beautiful roundhouse kick. They mimic the Hulk Hogan, his whole shtick with the leg drop in. Well, CM Punk did hit John Cena's 5 moves of doom, or the setup to it, and then he ended up doing the Hogan leg drop. But then Joe kicked out at 1. Joe powered up, did the Hogan shtick. It was good, a good little moment for the crowd. Joe hits a lot of transition holds while staying in control. He's going from like all these different, he's just great, man. Samoa Joe's been doing it for years. He then goes to hit a muscle buster again while positioned on the second rope this time, but then Punk bites Joe to get the advantage, and then he ends up hitting a Pepsi plunge for the 1, 2, 3. And then Punk ends up winning, which was no real shock because the Real World Championship was on the line. It was just kind of a little bit more shocking the way it ended. It just seemed like it was kind of sudden. Nonetheless, a great opening match. But then transitioning just a little bit off the card right now, we did say we are going to cover the CM Punk and Jack Perry situation once all the official details come out and it's confirmed. We're hoping there's an official confirmation tomorrow night on Dynamite, but we'll just have to wait and see. There's rumors that CM Punk is also suspended, which would mean he's missing the All Out pay-per-view this Sunday in Chicago, which is a big deal because CM Punk's on all the Chicago shows. So we'll just have to wait and see how that all plays out. But again, we'll touch on that later. Getting back into the All In show, we had Bullet Club Gold made up of Jay White and Juice Robertson teaming up with Takeshita to take on Kota Ibushi, Adam Hangman Page, and Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega got one of the bigger reactions of the entire night. People love seeing him. It was a great match. Everyone got their spots in. Adam Page ended up taking out the Guns with a moonsault on the outside. Ibushi had a couple of good flashes as well. The main goal of this match, though, was to set up the end. It just seemed like it was just kind of made for that, where Omega's hitting a couple V-trigger knees on everyone in sight, and then out of nowhere, Takeshita comes in, hits the most devastating move, the surprise roll-up with a yanking the tights. And yeah, that's setting up Takeshita versus Omega for next week in All Out, though, which was confirmed in the All Out Media Scrum post-show. So that is going to be probably as close to a 5-star classic as we're going to see out of Omega, similar to what he did with Will Ospreay this year at Forbidden Door. And yeah, so then Takeshita and Bullet Club Gold ended up taking out Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, and Adam Hangman Page for the victory. And then moving on, we had the AEW Tag Team Championships next. This was one of the more highly anticipated matches on the entire card. This was FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler taking on Nick Jackson, Matt Jackson, and Young Bucks. Like I said, this one was going to be a great one no matter what. It's the trilogy match, so a lot of people were anticipating who would actually walk away as the winner. They ended up, Young Bucks during this entrance, it was pretty funny. They actually faced the wrong way on the hard cam. It was shooting their backs, so they definitely were facing the wrong way for their pose. I just thought that was an interesting note to point out. It was a great match with a lot of good spots. They ended up, most of the highlights though, is they ended up recreating a very, very good amount of similar spots from their first 2 matches, including the finishes of both those matches. And then eventually Cash Wheeler ended up kicking out of 2 BTE triggers, which led to the Revival hitting a Shatter Machine on Nick Jackson for the 1, 2, 3, and FTR retained the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Excuse me, sorry. And It's kind of weird because now we don't really know where the Young Bucks go from here. After the match, the Young Bucks refused to shake hands with FTR, which was a big deal. So it kind of like maybe plants the seeds for a Young Bucks heel turn. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. And yeah, moving on, we had the Stadium Stampede match next. This was the Blackpool Combat Club, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Jon Moxley teaming up with Santana and Ortiz to take on Best Friends, Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy. Oh man, for some reason I'm drawing a blank. And Trent Beretta, yeah. And then Eddie Kingston and Penta were also their tag team partners. This match started with Kingston. Once his entrance happened, he stormed right out, attacked Claudio midway in the center. This match was absolutely just anything you would expect from a Jon Moxley match, especially with like the brutality and how bad it was. Just Blackpool Combat Club in general, I guess. That's kind of their shtick now. Early on, Penta stabbed Jon Moxley in the top of the skull with some skewers that Moxley introduced into the ring. It was the most viral moment from this match. I'm sure you've seen it online. If you haven't, go check it out. If you got a weak stomach, don't do it. Santana powerbombed Penta through 2 stacked chairs, which ended up knocking Penta out of the match temporarily. He ended up coming back with a different persona later on and got his revenge on Santana by suplexing him off a broken ladder through a table near the top of the stage. Let's see, Moxley stabbed Cassidy with a fork at one point in this match. Claudio, Chuck, Kingston, and Yuta are shown fighting in a box bar area. Kingston and Claudio were shown probably fighting throughout this entire like arena at different points in the match. A little more out of control action until Sue shows up with a tray of cookies. Moxley kissed Sue, which was an interesting thing. They didn't, the Best Friends didn't like that too much. And then, yeah, but she brought cookies and they ended up taking out Moxley and some of the guys with it. So that was a good moment. Claudio ended up hitting probably give or take 20 or 30 swings on Orange Cassidy at one point in this match, while Ortiz was suplexing Trent Beretta through tables off the top rope over on the side. Kingston ended up driving Moxley through a table at one point in this match towards the end, where allowing Cassidy to hit Claudio with a glass-covered fist. He had put tape around his fist, and then he basically had glass completely all stuck to it, and they ended up hitting him with an orange punch for the 1-2-3. So the Best Friends, Eddie Kingston and Penta, end up pulling out, in my opinion, actually one of the bigger upsets of the entire night by beating the Blackpool Combat Club in a Stadium Stampedes match. We found out in the All-In post-media scrum that Jon Moxley will be challenging either Penta or Orange Cassidy for the International Championship next Sunday at All Out, depending on who wins between Orange Cassidy and Penta this Wednesday on Dynamite. Looking forward to seeing that. If I had to guess, they're setting up Cassidy to take on Moxley at the All Out pay-per-view, and I do think Moxley is going to be the one who finally takes the championship from Orange Cassidy. Yeah, guys, so transitioning out of that one, we had the AEW Women's World Championship on the line in a fatal 4-way. Saraya versus Britt Baker versus Toni Storm versus the champion, Hikaru Shida. Saraya entered the match with her entire family by her side, which was a cool sight. Of course, she is from the UK. And she also entered to Queen's We Will Rock You, so that was a good moment for the crowd. Early on, Paige's mom is holding Britt's arms in one of the early moments, and Toni is going to hit her, and Britt moves. Toni ends up hitting Paige's mom, which causes a lot of tension between Paige and Toni Storm. Storm accidentally strikes Paige's mom, like we said, and then Storm and Paige are in the ring battling. Storm gets the upper advantage. Looks like she's about to take a shot at Paige's neck, her surgically repaired neck. Ruby Soho comes out to try and calm everything down and remind Toni that she can't do that. Toni pushes her away, so Soho is very upset by that. A little later on, Storm ends up getting curb stomped from Britt Baker while Paige has her in the PTO submission. So that was a little gnarly sight. And then Baker has Shida in the lockjaw towards the end of this, but she can't fully lock it in, while Paige hits Toni with some spray paint and then hits her with the nightcap for the 1-2-3, and then Paige wins the AEW World's Champion in Wembley Stadium in the UK in front of all her friends and family, in front of 81,000. A great moment for her. Her career was thought to be over a couple years ago, so everything she went through to get back to this moment, definitely a cool sight. And yeah, guys, so Saraya is the new AEW Women's Champion. So it'll be interesting to see where they kind of go with the Outcasts and if they're fully done and splitting it and going their separate ways now. But yeah, moving on, we had the coffin match next. This was Sting and Darby Allin versus Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage. Swerve Strickland had a really cool entrance, in my opinion, and then Christian Cage is always good to see. But Sting and Darby stole the show with the entrances in this one. They had Metallica's Seek and Destroy come on the PA, and that crowd erupted. They were singing along to the lyrics. Sting got a huge ovation. This is the first time anyone's really gotten to see Sting over there, so it was just really cool to see. At one point, Darby got chokeslammed by Luchasaurus, who had come out to save Christian, who was about to get closed in the casket. And Luchasaurus ends up chokeslamming Darby Allin onto his skateboard, which just looked so painful. Darby also hit the lid of the coffin on a coffin drop that he attempted to do on Swerve Strickland. Swerve moved, and Darby's back right through the lid of the thing. And it's just, man, you could just tell he was hurting after that one. Swerve ended up hitting his finisher and had Sting in the coffin, but he buried the bat with him, which was a big no-no because that allowed Sting to hold the casket open just long enough. Sting ended up hitting his Scorpion Deathlock on Swerve on the top of the coffin, and then Darby ended up coming in, hitting a coffin drop with Swerve halfway through the lid, and then they were able to close the coffin on Swerve. And so Sting and Darby won here. A great match. Sting and Darby are still undefeated as a tag team, so that's a great thing to keep going. And yeah, we don't know how much longer Sting has, guys, so just enjoy it, man, because someone at his age to keep performing how he's performing and he just keeps coming out and doing what he's doing, it's a treat, man. We'll really miss it when it's gone. Moving on, we had Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay next. Jericho performed live with his band Fozzy. They performed Judas with 81,000 singing along. Awesome sight. Go check it out. It's on YouTube now. Ospreay, his entrance music and his entire entrance and whatnot, big time for a star like that. He got to wrestle in front of all his friends and family in the UK. Awesome sight. He hit a beautiful corkscrew moonsault at one point in this match. It was just, honestly, he also hit an effortless shooting star press on Jericho while Jericho was leaning on the ropes. Realistically, Ospreay, I don't think can have a bad match with anyone. Jericho completely defied a lot of expectations here. At one point, he had Ospreay in the walls of Jericho, and then Sammy came over and hit Ospreay with the bat. That momentarily knocked Ospreay out. He came back too, though, and then he ended up hitting a hidden blade right on Jericho's chin and a second Stormbreaker for a 1, 2, 3, and Will Ospreay picks up the huge win over Chris Jericho. Undoubtedly the hottest streak Will Ospreay's ever been on in his entire career. He has now beaten Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada, and Chris Jericho all in under 2 months. Unbelievable stuff from Will Ospreay. The summer of Ospreay continues, so looking forward to seeing him potentially make his way to AEW full-time at the end of the year or wherever he ends up going. He's still going to be a talent you never want to miss a match of, guys. He is just absolutely tremendous. And then moving on, we had the AEW Trios Championship coming up next. Basically, this was Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed versus the House of Black. Long story short, not too many highlights in this one. It was just, it was like the dead spot of the match. The crowd was still hot for the Acclaimed and whatnot, but it was just kind of like a lull moment. It's such a long show up to this point. Julia Hart ended up taking the Scissor Me Timbers from the top rope, which was interesting to see. Billy Gunn kicked out of a black mass, and then the Acclaimed ended up hitting the mic drop on Brody King after a famouser from Billy Gunn. They all pinned him, and then it was a new AEW Trios Championships with the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. And Billy Gunn got his moment in front of 81,000 people. He got a championship, and he got to do his Scissor Me Daddy with his teammates. So it's just a great sight to see. Good on Billy Gunn. But now transitioning and moving on, we are moving on into the main event. This was for the AEW World Championship. This is what everyone came for. This was MJF defending his championship against Adam Cole, the best friends. Took a lot of notes in this one. MJF did come out as the devil. The crowd was singing along to MJF's theme, like humming. One of the greatest things I've seen in a long time. So, and then they end up starting out the match a little bit slow. They end up throwing on each other's, their tag team t-shirts, the Better Than You Baby t-shirts. So you knew kind of early on that they were gonna like be sportsmanship and whatnot. MJF ended up even getting a sportsmanship chant going with the crowd there. He eventually thumbed Adam Cole in the eyes though, you know, and then it was all cheeky humor, haha. But then Cole slaps MJF. He ends up hitting a little bit of quick pace offense on him. He ends up pulling the ref in the way at one point and then pulls MJF by the trunks into the middle turnbuckle. So Adam Cole is looking a little heel so far in this match. MJF ends up teasing a dive on the outside, and then he ends up eating a super kick. He later does end up hitting the dive. Cole ends up ripping MJF's shirt off his body, and then he ends up smack talking MJF. So again, Cole's acting very heelish in this one. They make their way outside, and Cole gives MJF a brain buster on the steel steps. MJF barely beats the 10 count. It was probably like a 9 3/4 count. They do go back and forth a little bit in the ring, and then they end up, oh my bad, I'm sorry, I did miss a step. So before they ended up getting back in the ring, MJF actually got Cole in position for a tombstone on the announcer's table. Couldn't do it to his best friend. Adam Cole turns around, no problem. Tombstones MJF onto the announcer's table, and then rolls him back in. They end up going back and forth a little bit more. They end up going for the double clothesline. They hit it. Each arm is covering each other though, so the ref counts a 3 count and then rules it as a draw. Cole jumps on the microphone and asks for 5 more minutes, and MJF says no. 5 minutes isn't enough. We're going till we have a winner in fucking Wembley. Hell yeah, Adam. Hell yeah, MJF. That's the way you get the crowd going. He delivered that so much better, man. And then, so then the ref goes down once though. Here's a bump spot, and then MJF and Adam Cole kept tossing back the steel chair to each other. A little bit of Eddie Guerrero-ness going on there. MJF ends up hitting a heat seeker on Cole, and then Cole kicks out. Cole hits a Panama Sunrise on MJF outside the ring, and then MJF ends up kicking out at 2. Cole accidentally hits the ref with another Panama Sunrise because he's going to hit MJF with it in the ring. MJF pulls the ref in the way. He ends up hitting it on the ref. So now the ref is completely out. MJF teases using the Dynamite Diamond Ring, but can't bring himself to do it against Cole. Roderick Strong comes out and low blows MJF out of nowhere. And now this is at a position where we're like, whoa, he's signaling for Adam Cole to get on MJF. Cole ends up hitting a Panama Sunrise and delivers a boom kick. The ref does the slowest 2 count you'll probably ever see in your life, but that's exactly what it was. It was a 2 count because MJF kicked out, stadium goes nuts. Strong then throws the championship into the ring. Cole tears his shirt off. Strong's telling him to hit him with the title, Cole debates on it for a long time, ends up tossing it out of the ring, tells Roderick to get out. And then as Roderick's leaving, Cole turns his focus back to MJF. MJF rolls up Cole, and the ref counts 1, 2, 3. MJF retains the AEW World Championship because Adam Cole couldn't pull the trigger and turn on MJF and use a heelish tactic to win it. Now, lots to take away from this match. First and foremost, a great main event. The storytelling was up near the top level of what you get in a pro wrestling pay-per-view. You hope to get storylines like this is play out in the matches as well. It just adds so much. But then after the match, Cole is crying in the corner. MJF goes to console him. He even gives him the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship that they both won earlier in the night. Cole throws it away. MJF claims that Cole never cared about him and that all it was just for the championship, so then he can just have it. He throws him the championship, turns his back and says, do it, hit me. Cole contemplates it for a while. Strong is adamant. Now Strong is just jumping up and down on the apron saying, hit him. Cole drops the title. MJF turns around and they hug it out, and 81,000 people just go nuts. Strong is heartbroken, but it is what it is, man. Everyone's way happy with this pairing at the moment. MJF and Adam Cole stand strong to close out the show with confetti falling with 81,000 people. One of the greatest shows in the history of pro wrestling, the greatest show arguably in AEW's entire history. And it was just such a wonderful treat to watch. Highly recommend you guys go check it out if you haven't yet. We're going to be covering AEW Dynamite later this week. We're going to be tapping in with what's going on with WWE a little bit as well. Feel free to comment anything you guys enjoyed from the show. Feel free to leave a like on this video and subscribe to our channel for future wrestling videos. We're always going to have you covered here. And yeah, what do you guys think of AEW All In? And are you looking forward to AEW All Out Chicago this Sunday? That's right, it's back-to-back weeks of pay-per-views for AEW. But hey, pro wrestling's never been hotter, man. So, and the card's already looking pretty decent. So looking forward to seeing what they kind of shake out on Dynamite this Wednesday. But yeah, you guys stay tuned and we'll have another video in the next couple days.